Take the Doctor to Davros.
I obey. Move.
Huh? Doctor? Doctor, what's happening?
This is Emergency Program 1. Chicken, now listen. This is important. If this message is activated, then it can only mean one thing. We must be in danger, and I mean fatal. I'm dead or about to die any second with no chance of escape. And that's okay. I hope it's a good death. But I promise to look after you, and that's what I'm doing. The TARDIS is taking you home.
I won't let you!
And I bet you're fussing and moaning now. Typical. But hold on and just listen a bit more. The TARDIS can never return for me. Emergency Program 1 means I'm facing an enemy that should never get their hands on this machine. So this is what you should do. Let the TARDIS die. Just let this old box gather dust. No one can open it, no one will even notice it. Let it become a strange little thing standing on a street corner. And over the years, the world will move on and the box will be buried. And if you want to remember me, you can do one thing. That's all, just one thing. Have a good life. Do that for me, chicken. Have a fantastic life.
You can't do this to me! You can't!
Hey guys, TO2 here, back with another episode of my TARDIS tutorial. In this episode we're going to be doing Emergency Program 1 from the Christopher Eccleston story, The Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways. So yeah, if you've seen the story, in order to keep Rose safe from the threat of the Daleks, the Doctor basically sent her home, and then once he got out he used the sonic screwdriver on the TARDIS, and the TARDIS went home, but also sent like a little holographic message of the Doctor. Don't worry about me, just go back to your old life, basically is what he got at. And I wanted to kind of replicate that because I thought it would be kind of an interesting feature for both the sonic screwdriver and the TARDIS itself. So just to demonstrate, we better do it from the inside so we can see the actual hologram happening. So what we do, we take our sonic screwdriver and we switch it to Emergency Protocol Initiation. And if we go inside now, and you can do it from the inside or the outside, but obviously the hologram guy's inside, so we're going to do it inside so you can see that. He got a little sound, and here he is. He kind of follows us, and he says his little message. Emergency Program 1, listen, this is important. Message is activated, and it will only mean one thing. We're in danger, and I mean fatal. I'm dead or about to die with any second with no chance of escape, and that's okay. Hope it's a good death, but I promised I'd look after you, and that's what I'm doing. The TARDIS is taking you home. And I bet you're fussing and moaning now, typical. But hold on and just listen a bit more. The TARDIS can never return for me. Emergency Program 1 means I'm facing an enemy that should never get their hands on this machine, so this is what you should do. This is obviously the same message you said in the episode. Let the TARDIS die. Let this old box gather dust. No one can open it. No one will even notice it. Let it become a strange little thing standing on a street corner. And over the years, the world will move on, and the box will be buried. And if you want to remember me, you can do one thing. That's all. Just one thing. Have a good life. And there's that little pause in there, like in the episode. Do that for me, TO2. Have a fantastic life. And then a moment later, he's gonna disappear. So yeah, and it does a little sound again that I kind of like. But yeah, you might notice, obviously, it did the whole message. You can customize the message however you'd like. You can also customize the timing of the message so that it obviously gives you time to read it. That was kind of my intention with how long each message was on before another one popped up and whatnot. Just giving you a chance to read it, you know, before it moves on to the next one, and giving pauses where he did in the actual speech. Again, you don't have to do that. It's fully customizable, so yeah. So how does this all work? Well, we go into the sonic screwdriver section, and it's a new function in here. It's just right here at the end, and I had to move it underground because there's just not enough space up here, because as you can see, we've got a room to this side, room to this side, we need the space over here, so I just made a new space underneath. So yeah, once you get here, it will just go underground. This obviously just tells you what it's set to, just the same as with any other of the sonic screwdriver settings. What's different obviously is when you get down here. We start here, and this is executing at the player with the sonic screwdriver in their offhand with the score of 1. Yes, and if entity at e name equals TARDIS, and I don't know that you necessarily have to do that, but basically just meaning executing if the player has the sonic, and that's obviously when you activate it, and then if the TARDIS exists and it's not dematerialized or anything. I just thought that made sense, and it'll make things a little easier later on if it only really works when it's materialized. And if this activates, it'll do this comparator, and it'll activate these 3 command blocks. This one will summon the armor stand for the hologram, and you can obviously change what coordinates it goes to if you'd like. The custom name is invisible, and then I've made it emergency. Again, you can make it whatever you like, but I just thought that made sense. No base plate, just because I thought it looked a little weird. Invulnerable, obviously. No gravity. Show arms. And then disabled slots, you just set it to this number, and what that does is just makes it to where you can't take on or off any of the armor on the armor stand or put anything in it. And then the items that are actually on it, armor items, some brackets, and then you just do leather boots, another set, leather leggings, you do leather chest plate, and a player head. Obviously, again, you can change those to whatever you like, and if you know how, you could like even color the leather armor. I don't really know how to do that, but you can if you'd like, or you can use other armor types, whatever you want, and you don't need to use a player head, or you could set it to a specific player. I didn't really do that, just for the sake of making it more generic. But yeah, once it summons the armor stand, at the same time it'll do these. This one is playing the sound of a bee sting in ambient. This is just what source it's playing from. It's playing it to all players inside the TARDIS at their coordinates with volume and pitch of 1. And that's just that little like ding kind of sound that it made when the little hologram came up. And then simultaneously we are teleporting, executing in the overworld, teleporting the TARDIS to these coordinates. This is the spawn point. You can make it teleport wherever you want, but that just simulates it taking Rose home, so I thought go to the spawn of the map. But again, you can make the TARDIS go wherever you want. And then there's a repeater, and a moment later, what's happening? And this one starts the actual message itself. Execute if entity at e name equals emergency, which obviously it will have just spawned, but then this moment later, it'll start saying the message. Run, say, emergency program 1, and then it's addressing the player nearest to it, so at P with a tag of inside. And that's cool that you can do that with say commands. I really like that, so you can have it addressing whoever is closest to the armor stand, and then the rest of it is just, you know, the start of the message. And then if you wanted, you know, the rest of the message to play over time, then you wouldn't put the rest of it here. You do it all throughout a couple of different command blocks like this. And how do we kind of make the timing work for when these activate? Well, that's all actually in a scoreboard. So in order to create a scoreboard, what you do is scoreboard, objectives, add, and then you just give it a name. I would call it emergency. And then you just want to write dummy, meaning it isn't actually like, it isn't actually collecting anything, it's just kind of a number. That's what dummy means. But yeah, you just hit enter, and then you'd have your dummy scoreboard. And then if you wanted that to show up on your screen, you'd just give yourself a score, and then write something along the lines of like scoreboard, objectives, set display, sidebar, and then you just do that for emergency. And this will make it visible on the side of the screen. It won't do it if you don't have a score, I believe. So you can give yourself a score on the scoreboard if you'd like, but you can see we have a couple different players, you could say, in the scoreboard. These are actually fake players. They don't really exist. It's just a means of getting these scores into the scoreboard. And these numbers actually correspond to the timing of the messages. So each of these mess 1, mess 2, mess 3, it corresponds to different parts of the message. And then mess end is obviously message end. And then this message is actually the bit that's going to have its score increased so it can move through these different things. So how does that all work? Well, we can start here and execute if entity add e name equals emergency, run scoreboard players add message emergency 1, and that's on repeat and always active. What that does is as long as the armor stand is in place, it will actually start giving this fake player called message a score of 1, and it'll keep going up 20 times a second until it gets to, say, the same score as mess 1. And when it gets the same score as mess 1, you see we have this command over here, execute if score message. So if message's score of emergency is equal to mess 1's score on emergency, then it's going to run say, and then it'll say the next part of the message. So basically what is happening is this score is going to go up for message because of this, and once it reaches the same score as mess 1, which is 220 in this case, it'll say this part of the message. So this would be probably mess 2. Let's see. Yes, so once message's score equals mess 2, it will say the next part of the message, and so on and so forth, all the way to mess 6, and then finally, once it reaches the same score as mess end or message end, it will kill emergency, and thus this will go off. So this is executing unless entity name equals emergency. So once it's killed, it will run scoreboard players set message emergency 0. So it sets message's score back to 0 once the armor stand is gone. So yeah, that's the state it's on now, obviously, and it'll also just run this comparator and play a quick little sound of the bee sting, just like before. So yeah, basically, to run that down a bit easier, we got our scoreboard, we got our little guy called message, and once the armor stand spawns, his score is going to go up, and as it reaches each score of each of these little messes, I guess you could call them, it's going to play a part of the message. So message 1 plays a part, 2 plays a part, once it reaches 3, 4, 5, 6, and then message end, it kills the armor stand and then sets message's score back to 0. So yeah, that's basically how it works. And then what you can do if you want to, say, customize this, you can come in here and you can say like scoreboard players set, and then just enter the name of any of these. So let's just say we want to do like mess 1, and then emergency, the name of the scoreboard, and then you can set this to any number you want. So you could change these values around in order to change the timing of each part of the message. And like I said, these numbers are each told in ticks, and there are 20 ticks in a second, so just go off of that and just make the timing to where you can like read each portion before the next one comes up. So what I did is I read each portion aloud while letting the message's score tick up, so that I could see how many ticks it needed to read each part of the message, and then I'd just give each of these the right amount accordingly, obviously adding on with each one. So yeah, you can customize the timing of the message. Obviously the message itself, you can just go in here and customize the say command to say whatever you want. You could have as many parts of the message as you want. Just add, like, I don't know, mess 7, mess 8, mess 9, and then at the end it'll get to mess end, obviously. You don't even have to call them that. Obviously you can call them whatever you want. But the point is, just have different fake players corresponding to each part of the message, and once it gets to the end, have one specifically for the end, which in this case is mess end, which will obviously end the message. And then just as a small little cosmetic detail, we have this command block here, and this one just executes as the armor stand called emergency at itself, teleporting itself to the exact same coordinates, facing the nearest player with the tag of inside. And that, it basically just made it to where it rotates to face you. So once you're done with this scoreboard, I just want to say that what you can do is do scoreboard, objectives, set display, sidebar, and then don't type a name after that, just type that, press enter, and it will hide that on the side of the screen. So yeah, now that we've got that hidden, let's go ahead and run through this one more time just to show you one last time. So yeah, let's again do it inside the TARDIS, because if we're outside we're going to see the messages, but obviously we don't see our little alarm stand guy, and he's pretty fun, so I'd like to see him. So let's go. This is Emergency Program 1, TiVo 2, now listen, this is important. This message is activated, it can only mean one thing, we must be in danger, and I mean fatal. That's a totally different delivery, but okay. I'm dead, or about to die any second, with no chance of escape, and that's okay, hope it's a good death. But I promise to look after you, and that's what I'm doing. The TARDIS is taking you home. You can see he'll follow me, and he'll say the messages as that score goes up, and it might have been good of me, actually, to put the scoreboard on the side of the screen, so let me just do that real quick. And you can see what's happening. You can see messages scores going up, and as it reaches each number, like that, a message will pop up. So yeah, that's kind of good to see, to show you kind of how it works in action. Obviously it's giving it a bit more time to reach message 5, but again, it's just neat to see this. Here we go. Have a good life. And then we wait, and wait for that score for message to go up. Yep, there we go. And then finally, it has to get to 1400, and then once it gets to 1400, yep, message ends. So yeah, exactly like I said. But yeah, I mean, that's really all there is to it. It's kind of complex, kind of not. Depends how good you are with scoreboards, I guess, at the end of the day. I'm not amazing with them, but, you know, hopefully I was able to explain it well. That's all there is to it. This has been Emergency Program 1, recreated in Minecraft with the little hologram guy, the neat little message, pretty much mirroring exactly Eccleston's, with customizable message and timing, which I just think is really cool. So yeah, I've been TiVo 2. Be sure to subscribe, to follow my Instagram, TiVo2IT, to follow my Twitter, which is also TiVo2IT, to join my Discord, and lastly, to have a nice day. Goodbye.